Hello, live internet world. Happy Music Monday. We got Becca-TR here.
Hi.
Our comic artist that does all of our band's artwork. I'm so excited that you're here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Anyone in the chat, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in at any time. I'm sure we'll get into a lot of kind of comics, Marvel, DC, all fun type of geek out stuff tonight. So,
Yeah, sounds perfect.
yeah, I'm totally excited about that. Mel and Roxy aren't feeling well tonight, so we're doing this, solo style.
Yeah,
Uh,
good
so
stuff.
so what's going on? How are you? Why don't you let everyone know what you got going on and what you do?
Oh, geez, there's not a lot going on right now. Thanks to, everything going on in the world.
Yes.
Usually I vend at a lot of conventions. I'm a comic artist and a crafter maker. Let's throw that in there too, because I just can't seem to stop making things. So yeah, I've kind of been out of commission with that for a little while, which has been interesting. I miss it. I miss
Yeah.
the shows big time, as I'm sure you understand, as like shows and stuff are done. But it's sort of changed my focus for things I'm doing. I've been doing more digital comics, motion comics. I've actually been doing some editing and trying to like turn my comics into motion comics, which has been an interesting thing to try and figure out and learn. Yeah, just like making a lot of stuff I probably wouldn't have originally, which is like stuff for me and my family instead of, making stuff to sell at shows and things like that. So
Right.
it's been a lot of fun. It's meant more time with my son, which has been really nice. It was getting to the point where like I had taken a year off when he was born, and then I was going to get back into it this year. But it gave me an extra year as a mom. So I didn't really begrudge that. We've had a lot of good times. It's been pretty fun. And
That's
just to
the
keep
other
him
part of it.
entertained.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to keep him and entertained and as happy as we could through this whole thing has actually been, it's been really nice. So yeah, it kind of like kiboshed any plans I had for anything else, but like there was something else for me to focus on. So, and I really needed to, because when everything hit, we were going to put him in daycare, so I had a little bit more time to focus on art and getting back into the flow of things. But like that was gone. Grandparents were gone. It was a bit trying for a bit, but things are evening out and getting a lot better now. And I'm starting to focus a little bit more on drawing things again.
Nice. And you're in the kind of Toronto-ish area of Canada, correct?
Yeah, we're about an hour east of Toronto. I grew up and lived in Toronto, so it was home for like 30 years. A lot of years I lived in Toronto. And like Trump through its streets and went to its clubs and had a lot of fun. But it was nice to get out of the city and find like just a little quiet town.
Yeah.
To sort of settle down on. We got like a little house with a small bit of grass, which is really nice. Blooms beautiful flowers. Like once spring hits, with just flowers on all of our bushes and trees. I don't even know what they are. I'm not very garden-y.
I'm not
either.
Yeah,
they're all very pretty.
Nice. That's awesome. Did you do any other get into anything other than art, like something like you never thought you would do during the quarantine phase? Like something just like, I don't know, not weird, but like something else.
Nothing, not necessarily weird. I don't know if I actually gained any new hobbies. The newest hobby I gained was when my son was born, I started doing like resin art or resin jewelry. Because it was nice and quick. I could take an hour or two and slip away and like pour some resin and and then like it's only a couple of hours and you have a few pieces that you could use. And I use that to like integrate. I used some of my art to integrate into the pieces, so it creates like interesting depth because I can take an image and then layer sparkles, and it's all very twinkly and nice and messy. So there was actually a workshop in the basement of this house, which was actually already partially outfitted because the people that owned the house before us were actually jewelers. So there was actually like, like the hood vents, like an actual stove hood vent
Oh, wow.
installed in one of the rooms in the basement. So I have taken that room and like moved everything down there and turned it into like the resin room, and it has the ventilation that ventilates any of the fumes right outside sort of idea. But
that stuff smells, right?
Yeah, well, it can smell. It releases fumes. You know what I mean? When you're mixing it, it's a chemical process that causes that resin to harden. But yeah, that's part of the reason why this house was nice and I liked it. Like we liked it because there was some stuff like that was already like outfit. I knew I already wanted to try doing resin art. So there's a lot of that, a lot of crochet. I do.
I know. I love your little you call them plushies, right?
Yeah.
They're super cute. I love them. Oh, that's a big one. Cool.
Yeah, this is the newest one I tackled. Usually I make my own patterns, but I got this pattern on the internet. But that's what I mean. I usually wouldn't make something this big because I'd be making small stuff to sell at the table. This was just for me, which was really nice to create something like really big and cute and cuddly.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, I have a lot of little plush characters. I learned how to do the crochet like 4 or 5 years ago now when I quit smoking. Because I was so anxious that I needed to do something with my hands, and I just started watching YouTube videos trying to learn how to do it. So yeah, I do too much stuff probably.
Nice. That's all, but it all kind of ties into because you make kind of comic plushies and like things like that. So you kind of, it's all.
It fits nicely into my market.
Yeah.
And actually, the vending table thing is kind of neat to me too, because before I got into the conventions and stuff, because I went to school to do comics, I actually used to vend at like raves and fetish parties, and I used to do more leather working. I used to do like collars and cuffs and stuff like that. So it's been like this weird progression through my life of just making things and selling them, and that's always evolving and changing what exactly I'm making and selling.
Yeah, for sure. When was your last convention? Do you remember? Or like con or?
It was a little over a year ago in March. It was the Pop Culture Con. I don't remember exactly where it was now. But Pop Culture Canada is the name of the company, and they just started hosting a lot of smaller cons all around the area, so they could be like a bunch of the smaller towns and smaller cities that are sort of around my area. So they were perfect, man. I really love those shows. But I think the last big show that I would have worked probably would have been the Fan Expo. That was like 2 years ago now.
But I'm sure the smaller ones are probably even better because then it's like less, maybe sometimes less people that you're competing with, maybe that you get to like really personally connect with. Maybe I'm sure there's ups and downs.
I love the little ones. I love the little ones for there because they're great, and it's a smaller community there too. So a lot of the vendors and stuff, we all knew each other, and when things were slow, you just go over and chat to this person and chat to that person. I mean, the big ones are like that too, but the big ones are more like,
yeah,
they're like adrenaline filled, like just rant shows where you're just like, oh my God, and you can't stop, go and shop. And I miss that. I do.
Yeah,
I do. It's been weird for a while.
Yeah, I would have a hard time not buying other people's stuff too.
Oh yeah, no, when I go to Fan Expo, I'm probably armed with as much money to spend as I possibly will make. So yeah. As far as right now though, everything's a go too. So like technically I'm booked for Fan Expo this year. But I'm trying not to let my hopes get too high. But
yeah,
if it comes, I got stuff to sell.
Yeah.
I had free time on my hands.
Do you sell any of that stuff online, like on your store? Do you have like a Etsy or anything like that?
No, I used to. I used to have an Etsy that I shared with a pair of friends. and I did all right there. But at one point they wanted to like rebrand everything and just kind of, you know, make it their thing. And when I restarted my Etsy, like nothing happened on it. And I was just kind of like, we're paying right now all the time to list this stuff. So we took it down. So like I hadn't set up a personal infrastructure for sale yet, which is the goal, like through the website. So like we're not dealing with the same amount of fees, hopefully.
Right.
But I get a lot of requests and sales just through messaging.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the people that know me or whatever are just going to be like, hey, that thing that you make, can you make it for me? And it's okay. Like we were already kind of set up to be okay to live. When I lost all this income, it didn't hurt us that much because I'm not the big earner in this household. That's for sure. But it hurt me because I feel like I lost my purpose. I'm just like, what do I do with myself?
Yeah. Totally gotcha.
But we were really lucky in the way that what I make didn't hurt us in any way, and I'm not struggling that way at all. So that was a blessing, because I know a lot of other artists and creators out there, like that's all they had. That's what they do for their full-time living. Like, and yeah, go buy from your small shop owners and your artists out there, because now's the time when they need it, sort of idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Not me, I don't have a store. Go find all the other Etsys for all the other people. I
started an Etsy because I got into acrylic pouring.
Yeah. That stuff is so fun.
It really is. And I had it before, you know, the quarantine stuff. I had a box of it that I just had sitting there. I was like, I really want to do it. I really want to do it. And I was always into painting, and I just stopped because, you know, you doing music and traveling and working, blah, blah, and you lose touch of certain things. And I was like, oh, I could get back into kind of painting. And sometimes like I used to do like, I'm okay with like copying a drawing and painting it, but I'm not good at just like coming up with a brand new kind of idea or whatever. So this was kind of like a good way for me to like paint and do something cool, but I don't have to like really have like the patience to like, because I haven't had that patience in a while.
That's kind of why I like the resin art, because it's kind of like you pour it, you mix it, and you see what happens, right? Yeah. And sometimes sometimes stuff turns out real ugly, and then other times stuff turns out real beautiful. So like I love that. I love that sort of like more raw artistic nature, where you just kind of literally sort of like throwing paint at a canvas and seeing what sticks, seeing what looks good.
Yeah.
I often tend to be a little too anal about my artwork, so.
But like, and then
I
also
understand
like,
that loosening it up.
Yeah, and even if you think it's like, oh, this came out shit, and then someone's like, I love that, and you're like, oh, okay, you know, because you're always like thinking.
Well, you never know. That could be that person's favorite colors. You're just like, that's the ugliest mixture of colors I have ever seen.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's got a different perspective. I guess one of the other weird things I picked up, well, not really weird because it's all art, but I started painting boxes.
Okay.
Because I just saw them at the dollar store, and I was like, those could use paint on them.
Oh, I know. I'm obsessed with the Dollar Tree. Here, the Dollar Store.
No, it's so bad. Okay.
It is, because you're like, I could paint on that too. I could put stuff on there.
Oh, not only that, but the little one has also kind of gotten into painting himself. So like, they have all these like little wooden shapes.
Mm-hmm.
So like, look at he's an art but he's an artiste. No. But it's fun. We get paint everywhere, and I mean now I have the paint. But like this is one of my more favorite ones that did.
Oh, cool! Yeah, I saw some of those on your I think on your Instagram. They look so cool.
So you open up and that's what I liked about it. It was like there's art with a reveal. And the next one I want to work on, I think, is I want to do a Dead Space one that you open up and inside there's like the marker from Dead Space.
Oh, nice.
This is my Silent Hill one, so like I'm getting a theme of like horror video games going on here. I've got one on the go for Isaac. For his anniversary. This one's really kind of obscure. This is Chrono Trigger, and this is a character called, I don't even know if you can see the illustration on there, but it's a character called Frog. Can you see it on there? There's
Frog.
Frog.
Nice.
So I'll be painting that on the box for him. So that's what's nice about it, is I've been able to use like my art and craft for like stuff for us, which it usually doesn't happen. So like
Right.
he's getting like the painted box, which, you know, we always go hungry for art, usually around here, at least my art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I want to say hi to everyone on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, and just want to say again, if anyone has questions, we say hello to Grumpy, and Matt says yes. Shout out to painting,
Oh,
and also, oh, I can't click two things at once. Unicorns are the best. They sure are.
yeah. Apparently, I don't have the camera facing the right way because that's the direction with all the unicorns.
Nice.
There's only a couple on this wall. All the rest of them are on this wall.
Mm-hmm. So if anyone doesn't know, if you didn't hear earlier, Becca does the artwork for our CDs. So Chronicles of Jane, Volume 1, 2, and the next one coming out that's done already. That we don't know when's coming out still, but it's done. It's finished. That we're super excited about the artwork for.
Oh,
but
thank you.
yeah, I think
is this kind of holding you up too with all of this? It's hard to get into the studio, I'm sure.
Yeah, because we don't know when. Well, it's done. Everything's done. Things are printed.
But you want to tour with it, right?
Well, yeah, we want to tour with it, stuff. So we're still debating if maybe it's time to just put something out. We don't know yet. We're still, we'll see. But the cool thing was before, now that we know about like Zoom and sites like these, things like that, like we were already video chatting and doing this stuff beforehand because, we don't live you live in a different country than us. And it was super cool that, you were able to like share your screen and show like how you were drawing the stuff. And I thought that was like the coolest thing, which I still like, I sit and watch, like I'll watch like comic time-lapse drawing things all the time because I think that's super cool. But I thought that was really amazing how like that's, I don't know how you do it, but it's great.
I like obsessively, and the programs just kind of do it for you now. Like you don't even have to, like back when I did your first album, like I set up a recorder to record that. Now a lot of the programs just do it for you already. Mm-hmm. So that's been fun. That's what I started kind of learning editing with, was the time lapse. Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of grown from there as I found stuff, and I've been able to work it so that my entire studio for all the stuff that I make right now is actually my phone, which is pretty crazy. So, and fun, because I need that, because I need to be able to like chase a little kid while I'm like, it's like, I got 2 seconds here. Let's draw. Oh no, he's breaking something. And it's literally what it was like for a while. I'd turn around and try and post something on social media and something would be broken. And I'd be like, well, we can't do this anymore, can we? So it's been nice, and I kind of like escaped to other realms of the internet with some of the stuff that I was creating with these motion comics, and there's been a good reception. So I'm pretty pleased with that. So
yeah, that's really cool. I've seen some of the motion stuff. I don't know, motion comics. I was like, this is really cool. Yeah,
sort of just trying to integrate like illustration and video editing and music, all sort of like, I was heavily inspired by just finding these guys on YouTube called Aim to Head, and they just kind of create royalty-free music for people to use, and it's really good music. So it literally just started as kind of like, I'm going to see what I can do with this, and then that's kind of just what I work on now. It's sort of like the web comic that I'm producing. I'm trying to figure out like, where else can I make sure these things go to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that stuff. So what type of programs use you, like Photoshop or or Illustrator? Like what type of like programs you use for like drawing and things like that?
For big stuff, like full big comics that need the space and the attention. Anything that I like to upsize or print larger. So like your guys' album covers is done like twice the size it needed to be.
Right.
Because I just like to make things big, because if you want to blow it up and put it on a banner or whatever, it's big enough. So for that sort of stuff, if I'm working on a bigger computer or my iPad, I usually use Manga Studio.
Okay.
And then on my smaller Samsung devices, I use something called Infinite Painter. And it also exports as Photoshop files. So basically everything can eventually sort of export and share with one another fairly easily.
Mm-hmm.
I'm most opposed, funny enough, to the most expensive one, which is the iPad, because I don't flow with the OS. I'm much more like a PC Android sort of girl. So
Got it.
But yeah, Infinite Painter has been really good, and the editors, like the film editors I use, are just some random film editors on my phone that I found. I don't even know what they're called. Go away! Sorry, that's like literally our live on there. I can't check here. I'll check my tablet. They're on there too. So I use something called UCut Video Editor and Viva Cut.
Nice.
To do a lot of the video editing that I've been playing with, and a couple different photo editors, just so that I can add strange animation motion effects sort of things. So
cool.
Like it's just digging through the app store and trying to find like a few things that I can play with, stuff that exports large enough to still look good quality. And a lot of what I'm able to produce now on my phone is actually of print quality, because the phones are just so powerful these days that you can make artwork that big. Like, perfect.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm really blown away, like that I haven't touched this computer like this except for meetings like this. Like everything these days for my artwork is done on my phone. That's also because I'm running fast and dirty, though, because I kind of run after a kid. Like, if I could put higher quality time into the work, I would. But right now, I'm just like fast and dirty, get it done.
Nice. We have a question from Matt. What is your favorite art, or what makes you disappear the most?
Jeez. Favorite. Well, you'd have to go to comics, right? Like comic art or comic books. And the whole art form of drawing and laying out comic books is probably what I've always been sort of most drawn to. I also like a lot of like horror and creepy sort of art, like Geiger and all that sort of stuff. One of my favorite comic book artists and inspiration was always Michael Turner. I just really liked the way he drew, so he was a big inspiration for me. He drew some of my favorite comics, which was like Witchblade, which is a little more fringe. It's kind of made a comeback. They did Kickstarters recently to bring back all the books, which did very well. So
cool.
I had them, so I didn't have to get them again.
Nice. That's awesome. Have you been a fan of the new Marvel? Let's see, WandaVision. Have you been watching WandaVision?
We waited until it's finished. We're probably about halfway through. I absolutely adore it.
Nice. Yeah.
And like, I'm pretty sure it's at least vaguely based off of an actual series of comics that I had been given back when I was really young, like maybe 8 years old. I had a babysitter who was my mom's friend's brother who loved comics, and like he would just send me home with just like, oh, here, take this one, take the like filing cabinets full. He'd just be like, flip through it and be like, okay, here, take this one. And he gave me this series that was sort of like a romance series of Vision and One. I'm pretty sure that's what this show is based off of. And I haven't read it in a really long time. I'm waiting until I watch the show, and then I'm going to go back and read it because they're stashed right now, like in the basement. But yeah, Wanda and Vision, because of that comic series, I really connected with that when I was a kid. So those are like two of my favorite Avengers.
Nice.
I don't think it gets better than that. When Vision appeared on screen for the first time during the Avengers movies, I wept. I literally wept. It was bad. It was very bad. They do such a good job with those. And of course, we're starving for that too, right? We'd already made it all the way basically through the big finale, and then they're not even making movies.
I know. Now the beginning of the well, I guess last year at this time, we had went through all of the Marvel movies in chronological order.
Oh,
So starting like I think the first Captain America, then Captain Marvel, like periodical timing is
yeah,
how
how the
we went
movies
and
happen in timeline.
yeah,
Yeah.
in the timeline. So we went and rewatched everything that way. But it's just like an amazing, I don't know, enterprise that they made. It's just like insane. Yeah.
It is. It is. It's so good. Like I can think back to like year because they always seem to release one around my birthday too. So like there was always like a Marvel movie like in May for around my birthday. And like I remember like the very first birthday that I had like with my current fiance, supposed to be husband, thanks COVID.
Yeah.
It was Thor, and Thor was his absolute favorite like superhero, and he was just like, I can't believe you're letting me take you to this movie for your birthday. It was like a perfect match. But yeah, we have years of like good memories going to see those movies right around my birthday. So like the
Mm-hmm.
Winter Soldier, I think, was one of them that happened around my birthday. That one was fantastic. That one's very high. It might be one of like my favorite all-time of that. And I wasn't even that into Captain America until the movies happened.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That was kind of when I saw Wonder Woman for the first time in the theater, I was like, okay, this is like holy shit. You know? Like I thought it was like the
I
best thing I've ever seen. Like
I
I
wasn't as into Wonder Woman, but that's all of a personal bias with DC that I've had for
see I my
age
yeah,
ages.
my first introduction probably into any like comic superheroes was Batman. Like that was
But
like cuz I didn't know about Marvel cuz I didn't like grow up with people like showing me superheroes really, you know?
I
So you
got
kind
lucky,
of
man. Trust
yeah,
me.
I got ran in I you know, you my first movies were seeing like the Dark Knight type of Batman
But
series.
Batman is it too, man. Batman was a big one. The original, like Tim Burton Batman for me was a big. I saw that before this guy was giving me comics, so I get that, right? Like that's a lot of the basis where it came. Or the cartoons, like the X-Men cartoon was sort of like an in because you start talking about
Mhm.
that to an older comic book nerd, and they're like, "Oh, you don't even know." And I still have all of the comics that that man gave me.
Mhm.
Um, because I'm a hoarder that way. So
I would
I
probably
get
wouldn't give them up either if I had. You know?
I get the love for DC. I had a lot of early read. I didn't get a lot of Wonder Woman. And I'm not a Superman girl. I actually I don't know if I should say this, but I actually hate Superman. The only books I ever bought of Superman was like the collected edition of when he actually died, and then a few of the comics that came afterwards. And God, that was still a really good comic when he died. He's too perfect. I just can't deal with it, and that's kind of why I gravitated towards uh first Marvel, but I mean then I really did become sort of like very much more indie. And in the 90s
Mhm.
there was like a lot of with Image and stuff. Image started releasing smaller companies under their banner, and I really liked Top Cow. They're the ones that did Witchblade Darkness. I also really enjoyed Cliffhanger. So I even kind of like got out of Marvel as I sort of moved into my
Mhm.
teens and was like, "Ooh, what's in the more like fringe edges?" Which isn't even really that fringe, but it was like still more like what's less popular and more weird.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because I never the read actual comic books because it just I never I didn't know they were really things that exist. Like it just wasn't something that was around, you know, my life. I guess you know, like my parents and you know they were like Batman's cool. We'll go see that movie, and I was like okay. And I loved the point of Batman that he didn't have superpowers and that you know if you were just rich and really good at martial arts and fighting, you could be Batman. You know?
Oh, he's still such a good brooding character though.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, comics with me, this is, I guess that's the kind of funny thing. They were always kind of part of my life. My mom was really into like Archie comics. She would call them like bathroom reading. So like you would go into our bathroom and there would always be a tiny stack of like Archie comics beside the toilet for reading. So like
Mm-hmm.
there was never like there was never a point where I don't remember like comics and comic books being in my life. It just I and I read them. I love Archie, you know what I mean? But it wasn't until
Mm-hmm.
superheroes and stuff like that where it's like, oh, comics can do so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then even after that, I got out of comics for a little bit because I actually couldn't afford to collect the books that I liked anymore. And then when I finally got back into comics, I was more like in my 20s, and all of that was manga. I had started working installation renovation for Chapters Indigo. So I would have time before we work during the evening or whatever to like look through all the manga section and whatever. And I was like, this is different than what we get here and what they do here with, because by that point I'm like older, I'm like jaded by Marvel comics. I'm like, eh. And I happened across manga and I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. And I was able to find mangas for some of these animes that I saw when I was a kid, like Battle Angel Alita and Ghost in the
Mm-hmm.
Shell. I was able to find mangas for them that like got me deep into like the cyberpunk end of like comics and stuff. So there's a lot of I've evolved through comics throughout my life and what my interests are and what books. Like currently I'm reading a lot of Junjo Ito and horror, so a lot of manga again, but a lot of horror
Nice.
manga.
Very cool. Matt here wants to know, do you have a favorite comic? And while you start that, I have to plug my computer in.
No problem. um I don't know if that's like single comic or like full series. That's hard. The first Battle Angel Alita, they redid the series and kind of like rebooted it. Um I think more so like that original set of Battle Angel Alita was very influential when it comes to manga. I guess I'll say that. Let's see if I
Mm-hmm.
can pick a favorite. God, I've been talking about this a lot too. For a favorite sort of Western comic, I think I have to go for like Alan Moore's run on Swamp Thing,
All
um,
right.
which was just a masterpiece, especially with like the layout and design of the comic itself. Um, I loved it. It was beautiful. Just the way that comic flows. It's not anything I've really seen before. So probably it's hard. It's hard to pick, but that's what I'll
Yeah.
pick for now.
Nice. And to jump around to a different, we'll kind of expand on our nerdness. Are you still into watching like wrestling right now, or?
um, I gave up on WWE.
Okay.
I still sort of vaguely follow what goes on. We don't watch weekly anymore. We
Right.
watch the pay-per-views fairly
Mm-hmm.
often.
Yeah.
And I still listen to a lot of my favorite YouTubers and what that just cover the news. So just I know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But we watch AEW like
Yeah.
religiously. Um,
Yeah.
we
I've
were
been watching
supposed
it
to
too.
we, we were supposed to go to Vegas for Double or Nothing in 2020, and we were going to get married. and then
Oh.
and then COVID. So
Oh man.
and literally we were going for the wrestling show first and we're sitting there going like we don't gamble, like what are we gonna do in Vegas? Like we literally at the same time like turned to each other and went, hey, you want to get married? Maybe we should get married. um so we still have tickets. It's so weird, they just keep like bumping it back and bumping it back, and I mean,
Wow.
so I guess at some point we'll get to go see Double or Nothing in Vegas if it ever goes back there. I'm not sure how it works, but
Mm-hmm.
um,
Oh, and
we,
I'm wearing a Fozzie shirt too. I didn't even.
I saw that earlier. Okay, no, I'm going to say I saw this earlier and your hair was in front of it, and I'm like, is she wearing a Fozzie shirt? I'm like, no, it's probably an Aussie shirt, right? Who
No,
would
it's
wear a
Fozzie.
Fozzie shirt? If he's watching, he'll probably losing. He loves Fozzie.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah, no, I've been enjoying what they're doing. It is harder for us to keep up being distracted by the kid all the time, so I never get to watch it the way I want to watch it. But
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I enjoy what they're doing at AEW. I think the YouTube show, the Being the Elite, actually is one of my favorite things that they
Yeah,
produce.
they're pretty. They're pretty funny. I do like Chris Jericho a lot. He's probably one of my favorite guys. He's just so funny. Like I love when he yells at people in the ring and out of like it's just like I'm like, okay, you're hilarious. Like
he's Isaac's absolute like all-time favorite, I think, aside from Bret Hart. What's hilarious is that like when I was younger watching WWE when Jericho came out, he was one of those ones that I would because I was like a Hardy Boys girl. Like I wear arm socks and like fat pants because of those people when I was a teenager. Like and Lita, like that was my defining here I'm gonna dress like this thing. But I get mad at Jericho all the time because like the stupid shirts with all he still does it too, like the stupid shirts with all the sparkles. So like when I was younger, he totally worked me. I would get so mad at him and it'd be like, you're so dumb. But like obviously since I've become like a smart mark, right? Like Jericho is amazing and the things that he's done in his career. And I'm so glad he went to AEW because I don't know, gives him clout, gives him a great character to work with. I mean, he was hot. He was doing great shit in New Japan. We were actually watching New Japan when Jericho was there. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then everybody left for AEW. We don't watch New Japan anymore. So I feel really bad. I feel like their roster just went by. Took a lot of the English-speaking audience with them, but it's been fun.
Yeah, for sure. I never got into wrestling until, until my boyfriend introduced me to it, which was maybe like 5-6 years ago when I started like watching it just because he was watching it weekly. And I was like, oh, I like this. This is cool. I thought it was really cool. I love the production side of it too. Like, because I'm a, lighting production nerd. I was like, oh, the production on this is, and I've worked for WWE a few times doing just production stuff. And they are just one of like the top companies. Like their crew is great. Like everything's just like so top notch with them.
That's what gets me about that's the difference that kind of gets me about AEW is that WWE is so sleek. They're so on point with everything. But that's also kind of the appeal of AEW is that they don't have a formula yet. So you can be really surprised by stuff going on.
Yeah, they're still experimenting.
Sometimes be bad.
Yeah.
And of course the new setup with all the screens and stuff is so crazy dystopian. So like I just like when I see it, I'm just like, oh my God, it's so weird and just it's very cyberpunky. So I like it a lot.
Yeah, they did a great job with that. With the
but Thunder you've gotten to have all the fun backstage and stuff like that.
We got to go to the last WrestleMania, right? WrestleMania 35, which was insane. Which, I got to meet Bret Hart. Actually, I met Bret Hart in Canada once before, and he's just really, really nice. He's super awesome. But my first introduction to wrestling was indie wrestling, like in Staten Island. They were like my friends just like wrestling at like a, they set up a ring and like some, I don't know, like a empty batting cages, and they just like, so I loved that. And I didn't even know what WWE was. And I just had a blast. Like going to those indie wrestling shows, and I would bring my friends and be like, you have to come see wrestling. And they're like, we don't want to go do that. And I'm like, I'm telling you, you got to come. And everyone loved it when they go see it.
The little indie shows are super fun. We used to know a guy who did a lot of that stuff, and his little troupe or company or whatever it is used to even do fan expo sometimes. So they would dress up in cosplay and then wrestle, which was just it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I get that. My obviously my stuff started as a kid. Like I think I started watching when I was 8. My parents didn't like WWE or wrestling. They thought it was really stupid. So I'd have to go to like friends' houses to watch it. So I was always kind of like a rogue WWE watcher. I didn't really get what pay-per-views were, and I'd only sometimes get to see the show. And I think it's when Triple H got like really big that I started just getting really mad at it, and I was like, I hate this guy. I'm leaving. And it took me a while to get back, basically until I got with my guy, because he he loved wrestling too, so we started
Mm-hmm.
watching it again.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it just I like the whole production side of it too. That's like a big thing with me too.
It
Oh, we
is,
have
and once
Denise from Edmonton says hello, ladies. From hello.
hello.
Have you been to Edmonton before? How far is that from you?
Oh, I wanted to. Isaac went there on a trip, and I almost went with him.
I
But
think I
it
was
was
there
like way
once.
too expensive. It's really expensive to fly in Canada compared
Is
to like.
there a big mall there?
Yeah, I wanted to go to the big mall.
Okay, I've been to that mall.
In that mall too, apparently there's also like a theme, and I don't know if I should really say this if it's weird. There's a theme hotel, which is something that I'm really obsessed with and that I've
Okay.
never gotten to do. So like they have like a space room or whatever like that.
Oh,
It's like something that's like really
fun.
big in Japan and stuff like that, but like hardly anybody does it here.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I found that out, I was like, no, let's go to Edmonton, see the big mall in the space room.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't get to go. I haven't actually traveled a whole ton, except for when I was really, really little. I went to Venezuela, Bora Bora, and Tahiti, because my aunt and uncle like sail around. So we're sailing around the world in their sailboat.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
awesome. That's pretty cool.
but that's all before the age of 8. So I'm just kind of like, I don't really
Gotcha.
remember it.
Nice. I know we were able to meet a few years ago
Yeah,
in Canada at the Toronto the amphitheater there, right?
yeah. It's called, what is it called now? It's called something different now. It used to
I,
be either it was the Budweiser stage and it changed to a different beer now, or it
mm-hmm,
has changed to the Budweiser stage. I'm not sure, but it's been 2 different beers and
mm-hmm.
it's no longer the same beer it started as.
Got it. Yeah. I think last time I was there it was flooded.
Yes, I remember that. That was crazy.
Yeah.
It was just, that was crazy. There was water that was like pouring off the loading docks. It was like a waterfall. I was just
Yeah.
like, glamorous lifestyle.
Yeah, it's like here's your production
Touring.
room. It's kind of wet on the floor, so don't put anything on the floor. I'm like,
Oh,
cool.
don't call anybody snarky. No.
Yeah.
Oh, that was still fun though. That was still
Yeah.
fun. I've never seen a show like that from that vantage point.
Yeah.
It always remains very clear in my mind. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. That's cool.
I don't even know if I've been to a concert since that, actually.
Oh, that was a while. I feel like that was like at least like 2-3 years ago, maybe, right?
I did. I went when I was pregnant. I saw Evanescence. That's right.
Oh,
At
nice.
that same place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that was that. That was it. I don't get out much.
Well, we haven't been out much here.
Yeah, but most people have it like enforced on them. It's like I just generally didn't go out much.
Yeah. Well, when I'm not on the road or we're not touring, I'm like, all right, now I'm home. Like, I just don't want to go anywhere because you are going everywhere. I'm like, okay, now
Yeah.
I'm going to stay home. But now I've been home for
it's a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just nice to get home when you do that sort of stuff. I used to travel back in the day when I told you I did the installation renovation. That's when I used to travel a lot. And we never traveled that far, but we traveled a lot sort of in a triangle that was between like Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa. I'd basically seen every Chapters and Indigo store in existence between
Nice.
in that little triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's like sleeping in the motels, or I know you guys sometimes just sleep in the van. I can imagine that when you get home, you're just like, my bed, it's a bed.
Yeah.
It must be glorious.
Yep. It's like, yay, a bed I could lay down, and then you still like crunch up, and you're like, wait, I have room.
It's used to balling up. You just kind of like squinch up into the little kitten pile again.
Mm-hmm.
So when would have been the last show that you guys got to do?
Actually, like a year ago to this date, we were supposed to open for Bowling for Soup, and it got canceled like 2 days before. So we ended up doing a virtual show.
Yeah.
That on this date, which was literally like a year ago. So,
have you tried any more like virtual shows or?
yeah, we did a few of them during last summer. We did a Thanksgiving Eve show that we kind of pre-taped and then put out on YouTube, things like that. But we're just kind of going to see what is the best move next. But we might still be doing virtual for a little bit just to be on the safe side. But I think during the summer there might be some outdoor stuff, but we haven't really heard anything official yet. So
I'm sure everybody's just going to be playing it safe for the moment. We did the same thing. We were thinking of like pushing the wedding back like a year and going to Vegas again in May, and we're just like, no, we're going to postpone again. Wrestling show or not, we're just like, better safe than sorry, right? But you know, all the vaccines are slowly rolling in. People that we know that have frontline workers are starting to get them and stuff even here, and we're sort of like small town, not a high priority. So if that's the case, we're probably looking better. It's just got to take time.
Yeah,
it was actually really funny because I remember the show that got the Comic-Con that got canceled, which is one of those smaller shows. So I'm like directly interacting with the head people of the show. And I was just like, he was just like, yeah, we got to cancel the show, but I'm sure the one in 2 weeks is going to be going. And I'm like, oh guys, no, sit back. You better be ready for like 6 months to a year. You know that, right? And then I never heard back from them. And like, it's just like not 2 weeks worth of waiting for this to stop, unfortunately.
Yeah,
at least
ours went to last September that they postponed the day to, and now it's this September.
Oh,
so we'll see.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully, I'm hoping by fall things will be a little better. I'm not, like I said, I don't even have that much hope for like the end of August and Fan Expo. So
I know it's like you don't want to psych yourself up, but also it's like maybe
I'm still hoarding stuff I've made.
Yeah,
it's just it's getting to the point where I'm just like, I don't know where to put some of this stuff. I've done like a huge like spring cleaning recently. And like gotten new shelving and stuff just so that like all this stuff I'm making, I have a place to store it for the moment. Until it's necessary again. Because it's just starting to take me over a little bit. Because not only did I have all the stuff I was making for the con, but I have like a half-finished wedding dress over there that for my wedding on like one of those dress form things that like takes up half my studio. I've got like my bouquet over here, half finished. Just there's like half finished stuff all around my house now that was intended for stuff that I'm also like, I'm fueled by short deadlines. So like it was like we're getting married in 6 months, 3 months. So like everything was going really fast, and like I was this close to getting everything done, and then everything got canceled, and I'm like, well, time to wait until it's last minute again. I'm not gonna get ahead on any of it. I'm just gonna wait.
Totally. I hear you on that.
Bad. It's really bad because it's funny because I'm making like it's a plushie bouquet. So I'm not making it with flowers. This little plushie. So this room, I mean, it's already full of plushies, but it's full of all these like little extra plushies that are all over the place. Like one of the ones I'm going to be using. They're just all over the place. Even worse than normal. But yeah, I'll have to get motivated again soon because there was so much. I'm so dumb. I don't know when I'm going to make everything for the wedding. The wedding dress is actually being made out of old nerd t-shirts and band t-shirts. So a bunch of my old shirts.
Amazing.
Sort of. It's the perfect edge of like ghetto-ness that I require. A bunch of my partner's old shirts, a bunch of my old shirts that I'm just cutting up and turning into like a ball gown almost. Wow. And it worked. I'm shocked because it actually worked, but yeah.
There might be after you reveal that, you might have a whole other business there.
I hope not. It's not like I did it skillfully.
Right. Making punk rock wedding dresses.
Yeah, it literally like I've kind of like constructed it off of a course set I already had. It's not like I have a ton of skill. Like that's why I'm shocked it turned out so nice. We were sitting there ready to buy like backup dresses and stuff just in case like it totally didn't do this good, but seems like it's gonna work out okay.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I might share some pictures that I have soon just because I haven't gotten to show anybody. It just kind of sits there looking pretty.
Yeah, we already got. Can we see it? Or once it's worn, will we see it? Yes, right?
Yeah. Once I get it, it's technically not complete right now either. It's like there's big portions of it that are pinned together.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I have some photos of it that I took that are really nice and aesthetic. That I might post at some point just for posterity.
Nice.
But yeah, well, obviously, once we actually are able to get married, there'll be tons of pictures of it, I hope.
Yeah. Well, I hope that's sooner than later for you. We are gonna wrap up in a bit. I do want you to plug whatever you got going on and make sure everyone follows Becca at all of her sites.
Yeah, well, you can go to my website, Becca-TR.com, and get most of my socials, except for the weird and creepy webcomic that I'm doing right now, the motion comics, which can be found at Traumasaurus Bex on mainly TikTok, but you can also find them on Instagram, and they will be making it to Twitter soon when I can get the time to post things where my child doesn't break my stuff.
Nice. Awesome. That's very.
So check it out. I haven't done comics in a long time, and they're not my best comics, but they're kind of cool. When I get more time, they will get better. I promise.
And if anyone else has any last minute questions, now's the time. But yeah, thank you for tuning in with us. If anyone is tuning in late or just tuning in, Beck is the artist for all of Jackknife Stiletto's Chronicles of Jane comic art. So
thank you for working with me.
I
know I can be a pain.
Thanks for working with us. I mean, it was like literally, I think I was, we wanted to find a female comic artist to work with, and literally found you on Instagram by doing hashtag female comic artist. And I was like, her stuff's like literally what we're looking for. And we messaged you. That. Yeah. And when we messaged you and we had our first conversation, it was like the first thing you sent us. I was like, she knows what we mean. So it was so cool to like the first thing we're like, we want this chick with fishnets and, all this and cats and P.S. I took your cat. And then it just like literally like everything just showed up. And we're like, yeah, this is great. This is great.
Some of my favorite work, man, especially that first album. Some of the other ones I fought with a little bit, but that first one was just absolute gold. And that's not you guys, that's just me. And sometimes you fight with your artwork. It just happens. But that first one, yeah, I love it. And I love the story that's getting built.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you guys let me do, like, so many people come to you and they're like, can you do sort of more like this style? Or can you do sort of more like this style? And you guys just kind of wanted what I do, which was perfect.
Yeah, we were like, I took these from your Instagram. We want this type. You're like, cool. Yeah, I do that. That's what I do. Yeah.
And of course, you guys rock. Don't think that your albums are not like on my permanent playlist.
Oh,
literally, when I was walking around this morning, I was rocking out to your Spice Girls, the Wannabe.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
I love this song so much. I love it even more that you guys redid it all punk and stuff. So
thank you. Well, we got another last question. It kind of goes with that. Do you have any go-to music when you're feeling creative and drawing, things like that?
Well, like I said, recently I've been working to the electronic music that Aimed Ahead Official does. Because cool. when I stream my drawing, I play the guys that I have in my music. So yeah, them. Nice. I always love my Evanescence for singing. I'm gonna sing to anything. So they give me tingles.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to think of anything else. A lot of metal. Anything that's super hard and crunchy. it gets me going, and stuff like the electronic stuff like those guys produce when I want to dance. That's where I get my inspiration from, because Lord knows I haven't been to a club in ages. It all depends on what you want to draw.
Yeah, you got to get in the mood.
The funniest thing too, a lot of the work that I'm doing right now is mildly inspired by the fact that my favorite comic I brought up, Witchblade, did a soundtrack when I was a teenager. I was like, you can mix music and comic books. It's a weird thing of mine. And that's another thing that we managed to do. Music and comic books.
Exactly.
Like a match made in heaven, I swear.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for tuning in with us. I'm glad. I hope we get to see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for chatting and having me. It's been nice. I've been very isolated. The human interaction is much appreciated.
Yeah, that's why we like to do this. You know, say hey to everyone, check in with everyone, and hope and everyone check out Becca's site. She makes awesome plushies and comics and awesome, cute things.
I try. You want to see all the hodgepodge mishmash together? My Instagram is the best place to see all of it jammed into one place, which is probably not the best idea, but that's where it is.
And we normally like to put you on the spot at the end and just ask you the a question, which is, do you have a kind of a glimpse of hope, maybe either for audiences or other artists during this time, to keep positive at this time?
Yeah, just try and, do what inspires you in the moment, and try not to be so hard on yourself, man. That's what I'm worst with, is that I try and push myself beyond my capabilities and be like, you need to do more. But sometimes right now we just need to be gentle with ourselves and express ourselves, not worry if it's bad or good.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think that's a great note to leave off on. Yeah.
That is kind of on the spot.
Yeah, it was perfect. Yeah.
I'm terrible at advice.
But I love that. We love that advice. So I think it was great.
Thank you. I didn't fail that one.
No, you did not. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Happy Music Monday, and stay safe up there in Canada, and I hope we get to see you soon.
Yeah, always fun chatting with you.
Yes, thank you. I hope we see you soon.
Yeah, have a good night.
You too. Bye.